Hello, my YouTube family. Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to dive into bronzer, blush, and highlight for beginners. So if that is something that you are interested in, keep on watching. Hi, welcome back. My name is Emily and I am a beauty and makeup lover. I am not a makeup artist. However, I am a 40-year-old woman who has been doing her makeup for quite some time and has learned some tips and tricks along the way. So the first thing we're going to talk about is bronzing and contouring, the difference between the two and how to tell if the product you have is a bronzer or a contour product. The theory behind contouring is to create shadows. You want to create shadows to help accentuate other features, to recede something so that something else will pop out. So this is why you see people using contour around their cheekbones and on the sides of their nose and underneath their jawline. What they're trying to do is create shadows there so that it looks receded and something else like your actual jawline, straightening up your nose, or your cheekbones look more prominent. What you're going to look for to find a contour shade is you want something that's a little cooler, almost on the gray side. And this will actually provide your contour. If it's too warm, it's not going to actually contour your skin. It's actually going to bronze it. But you want to look for something on the cooler side. Now for me, I actually found a great contour in the Marc Jacobs bronzer in Tantastic. I have a little teeny mini product here. So if you can see, it's hard to tell on camera, but this product is actually on the cooler side. And I will hold it up next to my actual bronzer. And this is the Ofra bronzer in River, which is a collaboration with Samantha March. And this is my bronzer. And it's hard to tell on camera, but this one is quite a bit warmer. But the Marc Jacobs works really well for me as a contour because it's with my skin tone, my sort of light skin tone. It's just cool enough that it provides that shadow effect that I'm looking for. Contour is not something you want to like fluff all over your face. You want to be very strategic about it because it can get muddy. And what muddy means is that when it mixes with your other colored products, it all turns sort of like, for instance, when you were watercoloring as a kid and you mixed too many colors together and it turned to mud, that's what we mean by muddy. So you want to take your contour in very strategic places. Now I like to use a smaller brush for this. This is sort of a densely packed but narrow brush. And this is what I use for my contour. And I dip in, get it all worked into the brush, and then I tap off my excess. And then I look at where I want the shadow. One of the things you can do is actually take a light and shine it down like the sun would and see where the high points are and where the lower points are. Now I have a rounder face, thank you COVID, and I want to make it look a little more slender. So I am going to contour just at my cheekbones and a little bit underneath, not on top and not too far down. Just from my ear and just along here I want to contour. Now the thing I love about the Marc Jacobs is that it's buildable. You can see right there I've already got a fair bit of a stripe. Now if this intimidates you, don't put that much product on. You can build it. You don't want to use a product that is so pigmented right off the bat that you're like, oh my God, and you're trying to blend it out. Especially with a contour color, you do not want to put too much product on it first. Now I'm pretty comfortable with this contour, so I felt comfortable with putting this much product on it first. So then I'm going to diffuse it by just blending up. And it's just going to create this shadow. Now I don't want to blend down. I don't want the shadow to extend too far down. And I will talk about how to clean that up in a minute. So just small little motions. I'm still using this same dense brush. I do go right up into my hairline. And I just diffuse that a little bit. Now I will bring it down a little so I can show you how to fix it. You'll also notice I'm not bringing it too far in. I did bring it a little too far in right here, but again, I'll show you how to fix it. So if you look at my face now, it's a little bit more defined right here versus right here. And it just makes my face look a little bit more slender. And that's the power of contour. So say you get too much in one spot. See, I brought it down a little too far here. What you can actually do is take your damp sponge with a bit of powder and press it along that to clean up the line. And you will actually see this on YouTube done a lot, but oftentimes they're not really explaining, or they're saying they're highlighting it. Well, yes, they are highlighting it, but it's also kind of like an eraser. So you can take your sponge with your powder on it and just pat it down the line here to sort of undo or erase your contour line that's too low. Something I like to do after applying any of my powder products to make sure I don't have any sharp or harsh lines is to take my sponge that I used for my foundation and pat it in afterwards. Now, I don't do this all the time between each and every step. Sometimes I will do a couple of steps and then take the powderiness down and fix it up a bit, but I do always like to press my powders into my face. So if you were seeing me in person, you would see that there's very little actual product on my skin, but it just gives this faint shadow that creates a little bit more definition. So I'm going to go ahead and contour the nose now. You want to use just a little bit of product. I'm going to use the same brush, but I would recommend, if you're new to this, to use a smaller brush and take it in small steps. And I'm just going to lightly go on the sides of my nose. And I like to, because of the shape of my eyes and because of how small they are, I like to take it a little bit up here as well, just to give it a little more definition. And then right here and right here. And I don't know if that's really translating on camera, but, ooh, I'm out of focus. Blended down a touch on the side planes of my nose. And as you can see, as I'm doing this, this front plane of my nose is much more defined now. You can actually see the definition between the two planes of the face now versus when it all kind of blended in before. And there we go. That is a nose contour. Now you could also contour around your forehead. I do have a larger forehead, so occasionally I will take my contour up here to make my forehead look a little bit less large. However, 99% of the time I'm just doing this with my bronzer because I don't actually mind my big forehead. Can't be bothered. We're gonna go ahead and contour the other side. Once you get the hang of this, it's actually not, it doesn't take that long. It's not a long step to do. And you don't have to contour. I'm not showing you this because it's a necessary step. I'm showing you this because you see it used incorrectly a lot. I want to clear up the confusion. So the other place that you can contour is your chin, and this is to sort of help combat, you know, a less defined chin. You put your line not quite underneath, but not up top. You don't want it on this plane of your face. You want it sort of right as it curves, right as it curves under, and blend down. That provides more definition along the jawline. If you can see that definition there versus here. So now that we've contoured, we can actually go back and warm up the skin with bronzer. Now, your bronzer placement is supposed to mimic where the sun would hit you, where you would tan first. So think about when you were out on a summer vacation or out at the pool in the summer, what parts of your face got the most tan? And that's where you want to put your bronzer. That's what this product is supposed to mimic, is where the sun hits you. And if you're wearing your sunscreen properly, you should need a bronzer because we shouldn't be tanning our faces. So then I take my bronzer, and this one has a matte side and a glowy side. And often I'll just swirl them together depending on the look that I'm going for. I can choose between matte and shimmery, and that's up to you. If you like to have a matte bronzer, or if you don't want to add any extra dew to your face because you know you have an oily skin type and you're just asking for trouble by adding an extra powder with a glow in it, stick to a matte one. However, I do like swirling these together. Tap off your excess. And I just like to lightly start going not on the top of my cheekbone and not way underneath, but sort of kind of in the middle. And then I use this up and over my forehead. Make sure you're blending up into your hairline too, so you don't have like a stark line between where you've initially placed your bronzer and your hairline, because that's going to look weird. Don't do that. This brush I got from Sephora on sale. It's not my favorite, but it does do the trick, and it does, because it's so narrow, it does lay a nice line down. Now, like I said earlier, bronzers are often a little bit warmer, but you want to choose the warmth of your bronzer based on your undertone. So if you have like a neutral or cool undertone and you choose too warm of a bronzer, it's going to look orange on your face. So this does take some trial and error. I generally tend to lean towards just sort of neutral, almost reddish or rosy leaning bronzers, and that's a personal preference. I do have bronzers that do lean a little more warm, that if I'm careful with them, will still look good on my skin. But this one, it is a warmer bronzer, but I do like the way that it looks on my skin. So like I said, I'm just gonna sort of warm up where the sun would naturally hit my face. And this is sort of why you see people putting it on the bridge of their nose, because that actually, you can see almost immediately, I've got that color right here. I look like I've just been hanging out at the pool drinking my pina colada. Don't I wish. So now we are bronzed. No harsh lines. It's not like an obvious streak across my face. And if you are concerned about that, again, you can either take your powder brush with your finishing powder. If you haven't seen that episode, I will link that video down below and up in the cards. You can take your powder brush and just tone it down a bit and go over around the outsides with your damp sponge. And there, we've contoured and we've bronzed. So the next step has to do with personal preference. You can either go directly into your blush and then your highlight, or you can do your highlight first and then your blush. It's totally up to you. If you do your highlight first and then your blush on top, it's going to diffuse your highlighter a bit. If you put your highlighter on last, it's going to remain sort of the most prominent part of that makeup application on your face. I'm going to do it either way on either side of my face to show you the difference. I'm going to be using the Milani Baked Highlighter in Dolce Perla, and this is a highlighter that actually can get quite blinding if you apply it that way. And the blush I'll be using is actually one of my absolute current favorites, and this is the MAC Glow Play blush. I have 3 or 4 colors. The one I'm using today is Blush Please. It's just sort of a neutral mauve-y pink, and I love this formula. It feels like a cream. It's sort of like a weird bouncy texture, but it applies like a powder. As soon as it hits your skin, it turns to a powder. So I find I could apply this with a brush, I can apply this with a sponge, I can apply this with whatever, and it just looks flawless every time. Great job, MAC. Excellent blushes. So this side, I'm going to do blush first, then highlighter. On this side, I'm going to do highlighter first and then blush. So the one thing you want to keep in mind, because remember your contour is a little bit lower than where your bronzer is, and then your blush is going to be a little higher than that, and then your highlighter. There is going to be some overlap. However, you want to make sure that your blush doesn't blend to, doesn't really get into where your contour was, because that's when you're going to end up looking muddy. And again, part of what I'm doing today is showing you how to lift the face a bit. And you see a lot of people putting the blush on the apples of their cheeks. That's absolutely fine if that's the look you're going for, but I want to look a bit more lifted. And so I am going to actually put my product out here, at least the bulk of my product out here. And I'm just using like my Rephr number 4 brush, and then just lightly bringing it down onto the actual apples of the cheeks. But that provides this lift. I want to look like I'm about to take off. It's just, this blush is amazing. Worth every penny. So on the other side, I'm going to do my highlighter first. So I'm going to take a smaller sort of fluffy brush. This is a Morphe brush, M510. It's not my favorite, but it does the job. Swirl it in, and then again, where you want to put your highlighter is where the light hits. If you're not sure where the light hits, get your flashlight on your phone and like go right up into the mirror. Sometimes you can even do this in the dark to actually see where the light is going to hit your face. Shine the light from above and in little bits of different angles, but make sure the light is above you and in front of you a bit, and you will see where the light is going to hit your face. Now you can tell right here that the light is hitting my face right here, and you can just see the glowiness from the foundation itself. So that is where I want to put my highlighter to accentuate that. And it just looks like I'm wet and dewy. It's not glittery. This highlighter is really, really excellent. And it just sort of brings that extra light to the face. You see the difference? Okay, and now we're going to switch. I'm going to put the blush on this side, and I'm going to put the highlighter on this side, and you'll be able to tell the difference between how putting the blush on top will sort of take this down a bit, and how putting the highlighter on top leaves it a bit more prominent. So we'll start by putting the blush on this side over our highlight. I almost put my blush brush in my highlighter. Now the Glow Play blushes do have a little bit of glow on their own, hence the Glow Play name. But if you were using a straight up matte blush, the difference between the two application methods would be a little more noticeable. So I'm just putting my product where I want it, just a touch on the apples, but I want to keep it on this outer side of the face to give me that lift. You can't really tell just yet because I haven't done the other side, but it's taken down the intensity of that highlighter by putting the blush on over top. I want a little more blush because I love this blush. I love blush. It's my favorite. No, eyeshadow is my favorite. I hope it didn't hear me. So I'm still glowy, and the Glow Play blush does provide that extra glow. I should have done this with a matte blush, but I wasn't thinking, and this one's my favorite, so we're here. But it's a little less glowy. So now we're going to go ahead and put the highlighter on this side, and you'll be able to see the difference. And just put it on where the light would hit your face to accentuate and bring that out a little more. And there we go. See the difference? So this is highlighter on top of blush, and this is blush on top of highlighter. It's a little more intense on this side. So there's no right or wrong here. That's just personal preference, which one you like better. It also depends on your highlighter. If you really love a highlighter formula, but it tends to be a little too intense for you, go ahead and try and put it on under your blush, and it'll tone it down a little bit and still let you wear it without glowing to Mars if you don't want to. If you want to glow to Mars, you do you. No judgment. So the other question I get is whether or not to highlight the nose. Again, completely personal preference, but I want to warn you against putting too much highlight on your nose if you have any self-conscious thoughts about your nose, because it is going to make it more prominent. You just want to dust a little bit down the center. You don't want your highlight to come down where you've contoured, because that sort of defeats the purpose of why you put your contour there. So I put what's just left on my brush on my nose. I don't feel like my nose needs much of a highlight because it does a pretty decent job of standing out on its own. One place I do add extra highlight is on my Cupid's bow. And that really, because I have such small lips, if I put highlighter on my Cupid's bow, it helps sort of bring them forward and make them look a touch more full. So I'll just sort of purse my lips a little and run the brush back and forth. And there, you can actually see the contour of my top lip now. One last place you can put your highlighter is actually underneath your brow arch. Now, oftentimes you'll see this done with eyeshadows. You'll see it done with a matte bone color or matte white or a shimmer shade. Personal preference. You can also use your highlighter for that. And also your inner corner. When you're finishing up your eye look and you want to add a little pop of light to your inner corner, use your highlighter. If your eyeshadow palette that you're using doesn't have an inner corner color that you want to use, throw your highlighter in the inner corner. done and done. It's perfect. There's so many versatile uses for all of these products, but just a little bit of technique will help them look their best and not muddy on your face. Experiment a little with your color choices, experiment a little with your application techniques and what shape you want your face to have. And there's lots of videos out there about adding contour, bronzer, blush for different face shapes. If you want to look younger, if you want to look older, if you want to straighten out a round face, or if you have very prominent cheekbones and you want to learn how to tame that down a little, there's videos for that as well. But I'm just speaking from my experience and what I like to do to help lift my 40-year-old face and give you some beginner lessons on how to use these products and what the difference is between them. So that's it for me today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see what episode is next in this series, make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and wash your damn hands. Bye.